Hello and welcome to the Knock On KCLR Sports weekly rugby podcast, or fortnightly, depending on when you're listening to it. I probably should come up with a new script for that one. But lads, how's it going? Paddy, Browne, Tom Crotty, James Blanchfield as well.
Great.
All good.
All good, Jay. All good, Stephen. Yeah, all good.
Just lots going on in rugby. Six Nations is around the corner. There's plenty happening to and fro with provinces and players and contracts and all that sort of stuff. Our focus obviously is on the local stuff, and we got the old Towns Cup campaigns up and running last weekend. Tom, we're going to start with you. We'll talk about the match in a minute, but just ahead of that game as well, I suppose, a bit of a time of reflection, a bit of sad news in the club.
Yeah, we lost one of our legendary players, Martin Dunphy. Martin's a 3 Towns Cup winning player. Massive part of the club for the last, I don't know how many years. As I said, Martin won 3 Towns Cups in a row back in the 90s. One of the toughest players, I think I've ever seen on a pitch, but fair, not a dirty player, hit hard, played hard, and always shook the hands of a player afterwards, no matter what went on in the field. An extraordinary person as well. Just one of those guys that, everybody liked. You could see the turnout in the funeral over the couple of days, and all the well wishes from all the clubs and lads that played him. Martin was also involved in the coaching. When he retired, he went on and coached some of the youth teams, right up to some of the lads that were playing Towns Cup and against Gorey were coached by Martin. It's very hard to say. It was a real good friendship because, as I said, Martin was one of the toughest people I know, on and off the field. Stubborn, great friend. Martin had an accident a couple of years, about 5 years ago. He fell on the stairs and was paralysed and lost the use of his arms and legs. And I have to say, he took that whole thing in his stride. As hard as it was, he fought through like he was on the pitch. Did it with dignity, and there were so many thank yous to everyone. The whole of Carlow got out and supported when the accident happened. You could just see how many people in the whole county would be very proud. From all 3 clubs, because there was I know Blanchfield helped out as well in a certain amount of the work that went into changing his house back over. So Martin could come home. It was phenomenal. It was like something you'd see on the telly. There was so many people at work doing up the house and had donated money into his, just so that he'd have a good life. But unfortunately, he lost his battle. It was nearly just over a week ago. I suppose from his point, his fight is over. But we'll miss him. The club will miss him dearly. Everyone around will miss him dearly. I'll go back and I start. Look, the weekend that it happened, he passed away on Saturday night, Sunday morning, and the lads had a tough game to go down to Gorey on the Sunday. I just want to compliment both teams. I won't talk about too much about the games, but the second went out and won 55, and the first went out and won 38-0. And I think there was a little bit of heart from, tough for them to go down, because I said a lot of them would have really, would have known him and been coached by him. But in fairness, went down and got 2 smashing results down in Gorey that weekend. Then last weekend we'll start talking rugby now. We had it was a very special day. It was a big crowd up because we had a minute silence before the game. The captain Johnny Murphy brought it. We put away the 6 jersey for this game. Johnny brought out his jersey and laid it in front of the crowd, which is a nice touch. Anyway, back to rugby, and we hit the rugby, and as I said, look, we played New Ross. We knew, look, it's a game on paper you should win, but we always know that New Ross come up with and we'll give it 110% from start to finish. We got off to a really good start and had a try within 3 minutes. First half we blitzed them. I think just the pace of the game and a little bit of motion and just complete accuracy. We finished up at half time 40-0. But then in the second half, in fairness, New Ross came back and put us right through a real purple patch, and it took us until the 29th minute of the second half to score the next goal. And we got 3 tries in a row. So it ended up, the score ended up 59-0. We had tries from Evan Jordan, Dan Crotty, Evan Gordon, Dan Gray, Rhys Edgehill, Sean Quinlan, all scored, and Ben had got most of the conversions. So it was a good day out. The team played well. As I said, the first half was really, really good. Scrum was good, line-out was good. Some of the back play was super. We had a bit of we kicked in behind them in the first half and put them under a lot of pressure. But the one thing, if you notice, in the last 2 games, that's it's actually 3 teams now we've held to duck in a row. So we're happy with the results that from a defensive point of view. If I know there was that purple patch in the second half. But we made, at half-time, we made the 7 substitutions come on at half-time. So I probably just changed it up a little bit and took a while to get into it. Once they got into it, they played extremely well. Man of the match was given to Dan on Switch Out. Played really, really well at scrum half, and his box kicks were excellent. Some outstanding players again. Rhys Edgehill was just phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal in the back row. His engine is just absolutely ridiculous. He's still, as I say about him, he plays the same in the first 20 minutes as he does in the last 20 minutes of each game. Backs played again very well. Evan Jordan played well in the centre. Sean Quinn is outstanding at the moment. Our centre's really enjoying his rugby this season. Sean has always been a good player, but has been riddled with injury. So touch wood hasn't had too many niggles this season, and just seems to be really, really playing well. I think he's somewhere between 6'4" and 6'6" in the centre, and I know, like, when he gets tackled, it's like falling a big giraffe, but. Once he opens his legs, it's very hard to stop, and he's a superb offload. If you're looking at 2 players of the season at the moment, it's definitely down to Rhys and himself, because both of them are doing. Wes did his normal. Wes was on for the first half and was outstanding again. Wes actually got the Nationalist Rugby Player of the Year, Male Rugby Player of the Year on Friday night. So it was, well deserved. He's been the stalwart for the club. It feels like forever, but he's still in the terms. He's still a reasonably young man. So, but on the whole, like, we're happy. It's a game we should have won. Should have won well, and we did. But look, I have to say, hats off to New Ross. They played extremely well in the second half, and they've been riddled with injuries, and just sort of unfortunate. They're kind of struggling in that division again. I know they have a big game against Balbriggan, and if any of the New Ross lads are listening to this, I wish them the absolute best of luck, because they're a fantastic club. We always love travelling to them, and when they come up to us, we've always found them extremely nice group. So we wish them the best of luck. And then we moved on. We got the draw against Wicklow, probably one of the tougher ones in this, but it's better to have Wicklow at home than Wicklow away. I know Wicklow will be gunning for us after last year's semi-final. But look, we'll take it in our stride. As I said, we're developing nicely. One or two niggles, last 2 players on the seconds, which is Mossy. We lost Mossy on the second team's injured, gone out for the year. Which is a big loss for the seconds, as the seconds are top of their league. They had a great win against Gorey. They need to win that to kind of give themselves a little bit more comfort on the top of the league. But hopefully, if they can keep going, they'll perform well, and they hope that they'll win that league. Seconds Cup hasn't been released yet, so we don't know who they've got. Our J3s, just over the last 2 weeks, the J3, they lost to Lansdowne, the table toppers at home, only by a small margin, which was good. And then they went to Bective last Saturday afternoon and came home with a 17-12 win in Bective. So that was a great result. And I know we call it the under 23s, but there's a mix. There's a few older 23s in that as well. But look, it's working. It was just a name at the start to kind of give some of the younger lads, it's not calling them a J3, but to give them kind of a team that they're going to join in and play in with. So they've had good results. The ladies' game was supposed to be on Sunday. That game was conceded. So there's been a few teams going to concede. So I think there's 3 now in the league at the moment. So it's not great now for the girls, just on experience, because when they go to play their games, they're lacking match experience. This whole idea of going to Division 4 this year was that we were hoping, if we finished kind of top 4 mid-table, we'd be happy in this first season, and we thought it'd be that bit higher level and you get more games. But as I said, like, we've had 3 or 4 games conceded already, which is not great. Youth-wise, the under 14s had 2 good wins last week. They beat Tullow at home 21-3, and they beat a tie last night. It was actually a cracking game in the most horrendous weather. I've never seen actually weather where the wind is actually blowing directly down the pitch, the first pitch in Carlow. The long time since I saw it blowing from one end to the other. So it was a kind of a game of 2 halves. They were 17-5 down at half time, and then they turned with the wind behind them and they won out 24-17. I'm going to give you a little bit of boost this week because they're a fantastic little team. Not the biggest team in the world, but they're really well drilled. They've a great set of coaches, and the team seems to be improving week in, week out. The only thing I will say is, I have to say that one of the Thai coaches after the game, I congratulated him, and I know that Carlow do it, and Tullow did it in the game against us, but they all made substitutions early in the game and brought on players from the bench. And Thai did it even when it was in the stage that they could have turned around and won the game. They took off players and brought them on. I did hear a couple of parents shout, "No, we did take off some of the better players." But isn't it lovely to see that everyone gets a run, regardless of result? And it's not all about winning, and it's not the Heineken Cup that's under 14s. A couple of games didn't go ahead after that, but our under 15s lost with High. Our under 16s had a great win away to Longford, and I think the rest of them were called off. I know the Rhinos had a narrow win. The Rhino under 18s, Paddy talk about the under 14s and 16s. I know the Rhinos had a tough game and had a narrow loss to the Panthers in Dublin and Belvedere on Saturday. Yeah, and they lost by a couple, but they got a losing bonus point trying the end, so they'll keep pelting on. Fixtures for the weekend, we have what's left if it goes ahead. The under 16s are playing New Ross on Sunday at 1 p.m. The under 18s are away to Kilkenny on Saturday at 12, and the under 15s are supposed to play Byrne tomorrow at 12 o'clock. And that is done and dusted from Carlow.
Lovely stuff, Tom. Busy weekend and lots. Probably a good thing that's quite enough in the Leinster League Division 1B this weekend with the weather anyway, because a lot of places are getting hard hit across Kilkenny, Carlow and beyond as well, with flooded pitches and everything else. So, it was Greg Namana.
Greg Namana, Thomastown has been gotten
big, loads of places. Yeah,
and then Escarty is a total. As I was there actually, I saw it on Tuesday with no bridge in the middle. One of the bridges disappeared under the middle.
I can't ever remember that happening. It's mad. Places flooding that didn't flood before. That's the way it is. Should we move on to Go ahead, James.
It's like 1946 all over again. We all heard about the Great Flood, didn't we? There was children being taken out of upstairs windows in canoes, being taken down Market Street in Thomastown to safety in the parish priest's house.
I've seen some of those stories. All right, Jesus.
Well, I tell you,
Great Flood of 46.
We got Carlow and Tullow both have had their flood prevention, and I think it's helped. Jesus, we've had none in town, which before we would have been flooded out for donkey's years. You wouldn't have got across the Great Cullen except on the back of a tractor. So
right,
times have changed. In some towns for the better.
Yeah, someone shared a video from 1990 of the tractor going up and down Kennedy Street, and all the planks. Yeah, all the planks up on the blocks to keep people off the water. Yeah. Makeshift footpath, so to speak. But anyway, James, you had a good weekend. Must be happy. 27-7 over Enniscorthy, and a lot of young lads got a run out as well. So looks very positive.
That's it. No, look, just before that, just want to follow up on what Tom said. Pass our sympathies to the Dunphy family, Deirdre, David, Hannah, and Ross, and Martin, the rest of Martin's family. Very tough time for everybody. I was fortunate to know Martin for a good number of years, and I can just echo everything Tom said, that he was a mammoth of a man on and off the pitch, and somebody who will be very, very much missed. And I met with Harry Sutherland last week, who told me some great stories, particularly one about how Harry made probably one of his 10 tackles in his career playing a Towns Cup match up in Dundalk. And after he made the tackle, about 10 or 15 Dundalk lads raked him and made shit of him on the ground. And Harry was having a bad enough game at the time, but whatever Martin said in his ear, Harry went on to have a bloody blinding game after that, and I think he went on to win the cup that year. And Harry spoke very fondly of the kind words that Martin said in his ear that time to motivate him on to have a better game. And yeah, like you said, Tom, he'll be missed by many, and we pass our sympathies to his rugby family as well.
Cheers, James.
But in regards to rugby on our own side, look, since we spoke, we've had a very comprehensive league win at home against Clondalkin, 55 points to 15. It was a game where we didn't give Clondalkin a sniff of it, barring probably a 10 or 15 minute spell in the second half where they got a couple of, or 3 tries. But look at it for us. We had a very good win against Enniscorthy in the Towns Cup on Sunday, but for us, all eyes are on the league. We're in a very precarious position in the league, but having won 2 games on the bounce and having beaten Ashbourne, having beaten Enniscorthy in the Cup on Sunday, we're in a good run of form. So we would hope that we can continue that. But Lee, Stephen, like you say, very strong win, 27 points to 7 over Enniscorthy on Sunday, and a mountain of young fellas got a run, which was great, most notably from our side. Seeing our under-18 out half from last year, Rory O'Carroll on the bench and getting the last 20 minutes and having a big impact was very important for us. But look, I'll come on to that in a couple of minutes. But look, it was a strong Kilkenny team that took the pitch. Probably one of the strongest team we could have put out, really. Front row, Brian Howe, Donald Keeley was in instead of Ben Devlin, who just has a slight hip flexor issue. So we decided it was best to rest Ben for league campaigns or league games to come. And Josh Evans was tight head. Johnny Young and Wes Carter in the second row. Back rows, Jason Connolly, Harry Prinius and Gary Dunn. Portuguese player Samau Costa moved into scrum half. Aidan MacDonald was out half. Tommy Murphy and our regular scrum half Aaron Askins were on the wings. Mark Coughlin and Podgeman were in the centres, and young Conor Walsh was full back. On the bench we had Mark Power, Jay Lahey, Joe Murray, Liam McWay, John Drennan, Dan Dowling and Rory O'Carroll. Game started really well for us. We got on the scoreboard very early through Aidan MacDonald scored a try, but it was an absolutely brilliant build-up play by Conor Walsh, who just chipped over an Enniscorthy winger, gathered his own chip, ran on about 20 metres, and then out the back door offload Aidan MacDonald to go in the corner. Again, for our second try, Conor Welch was the creator. Picked up the ball well inside his own half, sidestepped, made what was an absolutely brilliant handoff, put a player on his backside, went probably 2/3 of the length of the pitch, and Bit of interplay in the middle off the breakdown, and Harry Prineas went over in the right hand corner. Podge Mahan got our next try after an Aidan MacDonald break. Went through a couple of phases in midfield. Connor Walsh again turned provider with a really good loopy pass out to put Podge Mahan in the corner. Half time was 15 points to nil, and I have to say, like, despite the scoreline, Enniscorthy really made a game of it. Like, they had some very, very strong aggressive carriers, but our defence was just massive in the first half. Like, I mean, I would safely say we didn't miss a tackle in the first 40 minutes. And Enniscorthy had a guy, I think Mike Nolan was his name, number 12 in the centre. Probably one of the most direct, aggressive runners we've come up against this year, and he just wasn't getting through. It was really just dogged Kilkenny first half defence. But I think I mentioned his name a couple of times. Connor Walsh was the standout man in the first half. Then our next try in the second half came. It was actually very unfortunate. Harry Prineas we scored a perfectly legitimate try, which I shared out with you guys on a video from a drive on maul. It probably should have been a penalty try because Enniscorthy took the maul down, but Harry Prineas did very well to get the score. But the referee was on the wrong side and deemed it as held up. But luckily, Aaron Askins went over 5 minutes later in the corner to make it, 20 points to nil. And just towards the end, Aidan MacDonald got a try to make it converted by Aaron Askins to make it 27 points to nil. Now, I spoke with Rory O'Carroll a few minutes ago. Rory O'Carroll was actually the creator of that try. He made a super break up the middle from our own 10-metre line, bringing play up to the 5 metres. Everyone in the ground was kind of was rooting for him to try and get over the line, but he just didn't quite get there. Just went through the phases, and Aidan got over in the corner. In the last play of the game, Enniscorthy, to their credit, got over for a try through one of their centres to make it finished up, and an exceptional conversion as well to make it 27 points to 7. I suppose we were by and far the better side. Enniscorthy did make a game of it through just doggedness, but their line out, their line out was very poor. I think they out of maybe 10 line outs, they hit 1 or 2, which gave us a very good platform to kind of counter attack from, because the large portion of those line out overthrows we gathered, and we got counter attacking. We got counter-attacking opportunities, but for us, like, our best players on the pitch was definitely kind of. It's hard to pick anyone because everybody played so well, but Wes Carter, Aidan MacDonald, and Josh Evans are exceptional. Connor Walsh did get man of the match, but he was followed very closely by Harry Prineas. Harry, as I said last year, was a guy who just rocked up to the club, wanted to come into Kilkenny to live for a year. He's a number 7. He played a lot of games for us at the beginning of the season in the centre while we're waiting guys to get back from injury. But now he's back in the back row, back at number 7, where he feels most at home. And in the last 3 games, he has just been, for a small guy, he's been an absolute colossus for us. For a small guy, he just puts himself around, and he confirmed he was due to go home to Australia the first week of February, but he's confirmed that he's going to stick around now until the end of the season, until the end of the league campaign at least, to kind of bolster things for us. But I did mention Rory O'Carroll, and just look at a word of note from everyone in the club is delighted. His dad is owner of Bennisbridge Limestone, came to live in Kilkenny, and his dad Owen came to live in Kilkenny about 21 years ago, was a club captain of our firsts, was an absolute flyer of a winger, and it's great to see his own young guy now moving through our ranks up to our first 15. But there were several others as well that came through the youth system that were there, but kind of off that under-18 team last year. I think there was 3, and John Drennan, Mark Power, and now Rory O'Carroll, who was in the squad for Sunday. Now look at the draw for us is Tullow away. We'll see how that goes. But as I'm saying repeatedly, the focus for us is league survival, and a Towns Cup run after that is a bonus. So we have We have a very tough next game in the league away to Delisle Palmerstown. Then we have Ashbourne at home, and then we have Carlow away in the last game. And part of us is hoping going to Oak Park that we just have our business done going up to Tom, because we know it's not going to be an easy game, particularly after the last day we played you. So like in terms of the league now, we're kind of third from bottom, where the last 2 wins have brought us up to we're ahead of Mullingar on technicalities on the head-to-head, but look, with tough games to come. Probably jump onto our women's team now, who have kind of started making Division 3 their own. They've had 2 very, very good wins on the bounce away to Southeast Lions, which was probably a game for the women's team that they needed to win. So they won that game on a scoreline of 24 points to 17, also getting a bonus point away on the road. So that kind of gave them breathing space between the women and the Southeast Lions. And last week they had a very strong win in very tough conditions at home to Navan J1s. I was actually at the game and I watched it. Now they did very, very well, even though Navan made a game of it in the second half. It was 24 points to 10. Girls scored 4 tries. Started with a very strong side, I have to say, with Mags Irish, Jenny Kerwin and Kate Galvin in the front row. Karen Delaney and Lika Holman in second row, Caroline Quinn, Alice Brennan and Tina Wright form in the back row. Half-back pairing was Laura Delaney and Megan Callanan. On the wings, there was Rossa Phelan and Kate O'Neill. Centres were Emily Kenny and Kaylee Comerford. And the full-back was Eve Cronin. On the bench, they started with Nicola Woodgate, Lorna McMahon, Isla Moss, Anita St. Ledger, Claire Evans, Leo O'Brien and Rachel Brickell. And it's great to see Rachel Brickell back playing, because she had a bit of an accident there earlier in the season, so she's after missing a large portion in the season, but she came on and had a good game on Sunday when she came in. So the league standing with the women's team is now after 10 games, they have 9 wins, 1 loss and are on 44 points. In second place, again after 10 games, is Southeast Lions on 37, and Ashbourne also on 37 points. So for the women, it's in their own hands now to go ahead and kind of win that league. They have a couple of very, very winnable games left along the way. I think they have to play Ashbourne at home. Next up after that is Longford away. Never a nice place to go. It's just such a long journey up there. Then they have Byrne Hall at home, which is a game that I know they're targeting, because Byrne Hall away the last day, they feel that that's a game they absolutely left behind them. And I think on the last day of the season, it's Dublin University away as well. So, so for the women, look at it, it's very much it is in their own hands. Youth rugby, very little went ahead last week on account of the weather, waterlogged pitches and whatnot. Tom mentioned the big game this weekend between the Carlow Kilkenny under 18s. I know our under 18s coming off the back of a very good win to Skerries away, and I know they won last weekend as well. But Carlow seems to be the game that they're looking most forward to, because I feel that they feel that it's a game where they're going to get a very strong challenge, and Carlow probably feel the same, because they're probably 2 teams that are very, very similar in terms of ability and results. So I'm absolutely certain it's going to be a cracking game in Fookstown tomorrow, and kickoff and that is at 12. The under 16 girls are at home to Byrne Hall at 2 p.m. tomorrow, and the under 14 girls are at home to Wicklow. The under 13 boys are away to Naas on Saturday at 1:30. The under 16 boys are away to Midland Warriors at 3:30, and that's being played in Mullingar at 4:30 on Saturday. And our under 15 boys are on the road on Sunday to go to Longford on a 12:30 kickoff there. So look, it's been a very tough week in terms of getting games ahead and even getting training sessions going because of the weather. But look, we're all begging that this 4G pitch or 5G pitch, whatever our training area that we're putting in, can go ahead, because everybody's just mad to play rugby at the moment. But unfortunately we can't because of the weather with training. Before I finish up, I just want to mention our seconds as well. Our seconds have had a fairly tough season so far, but in fairness to them, they've gotten 2 very good wins on the bounce against Mullingar at home and against against Clondalkin, Mullingar and Clondalkin at home, and it's kind of given them a little bit of a punk up in the league, bringing them up. Where it is? Let me check it here. I think they're up to 5th place in the league after those 2 wins. No doubt they have some very tough games as well with De La Salle, Carlow and Ashbourne. But the seconds you can see them in the last number of weeks starting to get the numbers together. And again, I just want to mention the amount of youth players that have transitioned up to the seconds team. When you look at the last 2 games, it's all young fellas who we've seen over the last 2 or 3 years playing under 18 and a halves coming up. So it bodes well for the future, and it's great to see.
Good stuff, James. Busy and positive as well coming out of Kilkenny, which is good to see as well. And long may it continue. Paddy Browne is down the town of Graiguenamanagh at the moment. Paddy, you're in a car.
Yeah, I better explain myself. Because I'm doing an outside broadcast today. I come down to check on an old boat I have down in Graiguenamanagh, and I'm hearing messages here that there's 1 or 2 boats got away, and there's a very large barge, a steel barge on its way, and they're talking about it's heading for the ferry bridge in New Ross, which is potentially a very dangerous situation, and hope everything will resolve itself there. The Waterways Ireland are on hand and trying to head off the damage, but it's incredible down here. So if I'm in a van looking out on the river, so if it's a bit noisy with the rain down here, I feel a bit like Theresa Mannion and telling people not to make any unnecessary journeys and stuff like that. But that's where I find myself today anyway. And thankfully, my own old tub is still stationary and tethered on the bank. But it's quite phenomenal down here, and the floods are really serious, and the water at the waterside restaurant is about 3 foot or a foot and a half above the ground. So yes, it's not pleasant. But speaking of that and all the damage to pitches and that sort of thing into the games, we have 12 matches coming up at the weekend, and I think a lot of the ones that were to be away are now moved to Tullow, and we've had to reschedule fixtures in that. And so really, you mentioned your 3G training area there, James. Our 3D pitch is really coming into its own at the moment, and we'll probably host 10 or 11 of our own matches and a few guest matches at the weekend. And even last weekend, Nace and Gary Owen were playing in an AIL match, and they came down and played it in Tullow, and that is after happening a few times. So we're delighted to have that facility, and it's certainly paying its way, and is part of the reason we need new dressing rooms, because the scheduling is tighter when you were playing so many matches on that pitch. So yeah, that's the rainy introduction to what I have to say this week. As the lads said there, we got a bye in the first round of the Cup, so we didn't have a match last weekend, and our second round match is on the 8th of March against Kilkenny, and look forward to that. We always had a very good battle with Kilkenny and got the ascendancy in our last match, the final of a few years ago, but Kilkenny had beaten us before that, so I'm sure their cup spirit will come through on that day. But we're lucky to get a home draw, and it should be a great occasion on the 8th of March. We didn't have a game last week because of that, but I would like to say a few words about the match we had the previous Saturday, because we hadn't been going great in the league, as I reported here a few times, and had lost Tullamore the previous Saturday. Made a great comeback and got 2 bonus points against them, but nonetheless they bet us off the pitch in the first half. So that kind of left us going up to a strong C Point team, who at the time were second in the league, and with some trepidation. But I think the training went very well, and the lads had kind of got Sean in, and he gave them, along with Morris, gave them a fair old talking to. So they went up with a fair degree of resolve. The match was shifted from C Point into St. Michael's College, who have an incredible setup there, because the pitches out in Kilgobbin were unplayable. And so we played on a 3G, which may have been a help to us, because we would be more used to playing on it than C Point. It didn't stop C Point from going into a very strong lead of 19-3 at half time. But unlike the Tullamore match, our lads really came back at them and played very, very well, and certainly it was a huge improvement. We got 4 tries in the match from the ageless Joe Waters got the first try.
Oh, man.
Jack McDonald got a second try, the third try from Ezra Vai, and the fourth try from Peter Burgess, who intercepted to run the length of the field. So we were leading comfortably with about 5 minutes to 6 minutes to go. We were 8 points ahead, and unfortunately Jack McDonald got a yellow card, and also another yellow card to Cian Leonard, and we finished with 13 players. And C Point did come back and get a try, but it was too late for them, and it did give them a second bonus point with their fourth try, and the margin was 1 point, 35 points to 34. But it was, for Tullow, a very, very important win. We are struggling to get out of second from bottom, and like no more than James was saying there, that's our main aim at the moment, because we don't want to be caught into a relegation playoff if we can avoid it at all. So that could be a turning point for us in the season. We don't know. It was a great win against odds, I suppose. We had great players in Jack Hanlon, Tom Hughes in the line-out, Ezra Vai, and Jack McDonald, who's back to full fitness after his exploits with the Cocks, or back to rugby fitness as opposed to Gaelic fitness. So the run-in now is going to be very interesting. Tom mentioned their Wicklow match in the Cup, so we will give them a weather vane of what they're like tomorrow. We're playing Wicklow in Tullow tomorrow. The match is put back to 3:30 because of the scheduling issues on the 3G pitch. And the bottom of the table is interesting. Wicklow are on 25, we're on 22. Because of last weekend's results, we crept ahead of a tie who are on 21, and Wexford are 7. So assuming Wexford won't come into contention for that second last spot, it's between Wicklow, Tullow and a tie. So we certainly need to beat Wicklow if we want to stay in contention. Wicklow and a tie will be playing each other in some of the remaining matches. We've 1 or 2 tough matches, and one match we'd expect to win. We've to play Wexford, but we're away to both Suttonians and Byrne, who are the 2 top teams. So tomorrow's a crucial match for us. We need to beat Wicklow really to have a realistic chance of avoiding second from bottom. So all roads lead to the Black Eights tomorrow, and we'll let you know, Tom, how Wicklow are faring. But as you said yourself earlier in the pre-match, they will be looking for revenge after the way you pipped them in up in Kildare in the semi-final last year. So there'll be a couple of crackers between ourselves and Wicklow, and between yourselves and Wicklow coming up. So all to look forward to there. Our seconds didn't have a match, obviously, or because of pitches being unplayable in Sea Point. So other things to report on. Our mixed results on the underage scene last weekend. Tom mentioned the under 14 boys went down 21-3 to Tullow. The under 14 Rhinos, big win, 52-10 over Tullamore. The under 15 boys beat Navan 30-17. The under 16 Rhinos lost narrowly to Port Dara 15-17, and our under 17 boys had a good win, 19-12 over Mullingar. The under 18 Panthers, Tom mentioned earlier, had a narrow defeat to the Rhinos, or to the Panthers, and that was a big game because I think both the teams are vying for top of the table. Our ladies had to go to Ballincollig, and that match was unplayable, the pitch was unplayable, so they moved it to a 3G pitch in Feathered, which isn't a rugby club as such, it's a community pitch, but a fine setup, I believe, in Feathered, and they lost in a tight enough game, 19-5 to Ballincollig. They have no match this coming weekend. So other fixtures this weekend, we've 12 matches scheduled in spite of the pitches, and I think the way things are looking, we could end up with 10 or 11 of those pitches being played in Tullow on the 3G. Our under 15 boys are playing tonight, Friday, at home to Naas at the Black Gates. On Saturday tomorrow, the under 14 Rhinos are away to Gorey. The 17 boys are home to Byrne. The under 18 boys are away to Athy, and the under 18 Rhinos are home to Mullingar. I mentioned the 2 men's matches, the J1s at 3:30, a change there in to Wicklow, and the J2 men are playing at 1 o'clock at home to Wicklow. On Sunday then we have the under 13 boys home to Mullingar, and under 16 boys away to Enniscorthy, and under 16 Rhinos home to Wexford. And in a new breakaway, because of our new church or bank holiday on Monday. We have a couple of matches on, 2 friendlies. Under 12s and under 14 boys are playing friendlies in Tullow to Naas. So that's a new development to be playing matches on a bank holiday Monday. So, guys, that's what we've to say from the Tullow point of view. It's a lot of weather-related stories there, but I also would like to join with Tom and James in passing our commiserations on to the Carlow club and the Dunphy family, who have also been very close friends of Tullow over the years. So on that sad note, I'll wind up and look forward to a big weekend of rugby.
Cheers, Paddy.
Thanks, Paddy. Thanks, Tom, and to James as well. Lads, we'll wrap it up there. Enjoy the weekend off for the lads that are off. I know there's obviously lots of youths and ladies action and everything going on. Paddy, you're in action as well, but best of luck in that game, and we'll catch up with you all next week. Yeah, it's good. Rugby's starting to get into the busy season now. Six Nations, URC, Champions Cup, all that sort of stuff. Towns Cup League, the business end of the league. It's all good. There's plenty to talk about between now and the end of the season anyway. Lads, we'll catch up with you next week. Go easy. Have a good weekend and take care.
Cheers,
Thanks, Stephen. Take care. Take care. See you guys.